After I stopped replying, things got weirdly loud in their silence. First, it was the "Are you okay?" texts, then the "You've changed" messages, and then the guilt bombs started dropping like it was some sort of emotional blitz. "You know your mom didn't mean it. Eric feels terrible. He almost died. We're family." That word family started sounding like a weapon, like a rope they used to yank me back anytime I tried to climb out of the pit they built for me. I didn't respond. Not to the messages, not to the missed calls, not even when Mom started sending me old photos. Me at 8, holding Eric's hand. Me at 15, carrying a tray of food on Thanksgiving while everyone else smiled at the camera. It was like she was trying to remind me of a version of myself that was easier to use. I started leaving my phone in another room. I turned off notifications. I stopped checking the family group chat. The pings still came, like ghost knocks on the wall. Then, the privacy invasion started. I caught Eric driving by my house, twice. Once at 9 on a Saturday, just idling outside. I didn't confront him, I just pulled the curtains and watched. A few days later, I got a friend request on Facebook from my mom. We weren't even friends on there. She'd never cared to connect until now. Her first message? "You're being dramatic. Not I miss you. Not I'm sorry. Just more of the same." I deleted the message, and I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time, power. The next Sunday, I went to the farmer's market. I bought a bouquet of tulips. Yellow. Not for anyone, just for me. I set them in the kitchen, made myself a real breakfast, and played the playlist I'd made during my first year of therapy. That afternoon, I started journaling every single thing I remembered, the ways I was sidelined, erased, laughed at. I filled 10 pages without stopping. By the end, my hand was sore and my heart was strangely light. The writing unlocked something. Memories started coming back, not just in passing, but sharp and searing. Like the time Mom called me difficult for crying when Dad forgot to pick me up from soccer practice. Or when Eric totaled his car and they made me take the bus to work so he could use mine. Or the year I got promoted and nobody even said congratulations because Eric's wife was pregnant with their second. I wasn't crazy, I wasn't ungrateful, I was exhausted. And as the truth settled in, so did the distance. The texts changed tone. They got nastier, more pointed. "So, you think you're better than us now? What did we ever do to make you hate us? Don't come crying to us when you're alone." I didn't reply. Instead, I started reading about boundaries. I looked up articles on toxic families. I read Reddit threads at 2 a.m. from women who'd gone no contact with mothers who called them ungrateful and sisters who stole their joy. And for the first time in my life, I realized I wasn't alone. One night, I got a call from Dad. It was 11:47 p.m. I don't know why I answered. Maybe I just wanted to see if he'd say anything real. But all he said was, "Your mom hasn't been sleeping. This is breaking her." I waited for him to ask how I was doing. He never did. I hung up in the middle of his sentence, and I blocked his number. That night, I slept like a baby. The next day, I made a spreadsheet, a literal spreadsheet. Years of money I'd given them. Rent I helped cover. Flights the first paid for. Babysitting hours. Birthday gifts. Car repairs. Grocery runs. The total made my stomach turn. I wasn't a daughter. I was a wallet with a pulse, but not anymore. I printed it out, folded it neatly, and slipped it into a folder I labeled receipts, just in case. Because something told me the storm wasn't over yet. They weren't done taking. But I was done giving. The funny thing about cutting people off is that it doesn't stop them from trying to pull you back in, especially when they need something. March rolled in with its fake spring and fake apologies. I hadn't spoken to Mom or Eric in months. I was finally starting to feel like I had a life that was mine. Quieter, smaller, yes, but mine. Then came the call from cousin Leah. We weren't close. She lived in another state, and we only ever talked at weddings or funerals. But she was always kind, quiet. The only person who ever asked if I was okay when Mom made one of her jokes at the table. She called out of the blue. "I don't want to get in the middle," she said. Dangerous way to start a call. "But I think you should know something about your parents and Eric." Turns out there was a reason they were so desperate to get me back in the fold. I'd been the emergency fund, the soft place to land, the bank account with no interest rate. But behind my back, They'd been preparing to cut me out entirely. You know Grandpa's inheritance? Leah said. The one we all thought was split evenly? I remembered. Grandpa died 3 years ago. I was the only one who sat with him the week he passed, the only one who held his hand as he faded. I was also the only one who never got a dime. I saw the paperwork, Leah whispered. Eric got everything. Your name wasn't even listed. My hands went cold. Grandpa told me he left something for you, she continued. He said you deserved it most. I don't know what happened, but I think they changed something. After. Leah sent me screenshots, dated bank transfers, an email from Mom to a lawyer referring to consolidating the estate to simplify disbursement. Simplify. As in, erase. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on my couch, clutching the folder I'd made with my spreadsheet, now joined by printed emails and screenshots. Something broke open inside me. This wasn't just emotional manipulation anymore. This was theft. And the best part? Leah wanted in. She said she'd help however she could. She'd always felt sidelined too. Mom called her that weird little art girl. Leah had receipts, photos, family emails, conversations from the hospital. She'd start digging. I'm not doing this for revenge, she said. I'm doing this because you deserve to win for once. That word win settled into my chest like armor. I started gathering everything. Bank statements from when I helped Mom and Dad with bills, texts confirming I paid for Eric's flight to a job interview, emails where Mom asked me to front her rent. I even found an old message from Grandpa, a short one, from 2 months before he died. I'm proud of you. You always show up. You deserve more than they give you. I printed it, framed it. And then I called a lawyer. It felt surreal, sitting across from someone in a suit, describing how my own family had siphoned off my inheritance and treated me like an unpaid employee. But the lawyer didn't flinch. He nodded, took notes, asked for everything I had, and then he said something I'll never forget. They underestimated you. That's their biggest mistake. It was happening. For once, I wasn't just surviving the damage. I was preparing to make them feel it. I wasn't fantasizing about screaming matches or slamming doors. I was planning emails, documents, timelines. Clean, cold exposure. Let the world see them without the mask. Let them watch their own lies choke them. The lawyer filed the paperwork. Leah gave a statement. We discovered the will had been quietly rewritten a month before Grandpa's death after he was already in hospice and barely lucid. The original? Still on file at his lawyer's office. And guess who was named? Me. Equal share with Eric. And a personal note. To my granddaughter, who's always been my shadow, I see you. They'd forged signatures. Redirected funds. Lied. It was criminal. And now it was all documented. My lawyer said this could go to court. I said, good. Let them show up. Let them try to explain. Because the girl who used to cry over a slice of cake? She wasn't coming to this showdown. Only the woman with the folder was. And she was ready. The first letter went out on a Thursday. Certified mail. 1 to Mom, 1 to Eric, 1 to their lawyer. Subject: Notice of intent to challenge inheritance and financial misconduct. I imagined Mom reading it with her morning tea, still in her robe, that smug little smirk slipping inch by inch as the words sank in. I didn't hear anything for 3 days. Then, like clockwork, the phone calls started. Blocked numbers, unknown numbers, messages from numbers I didn't recognize but knew by tone. Don't do this to us. You're tearing this family apart. How dare you drag this into court? But it was already in motion. Depositions were scheduled. Financial audits had begun. The original will, Grandpa's real will, was verified. Handwriting experts. Medical records. Witness statements from Leah and Grandpa's hospice nurse. It wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was fraud, and it was unraveling fast. Mom cracked first. She showed up at my house, uninvited, unannounced. She hadn't been there in years. Not since I moved out and selfishly chose a one-bedroom instead of renting something big enough for family visits. I didn't open the door, just stood behind the blinds and watched her press the doorbell over and over until her finger hovered like a ghost. She finally pulled out her phone, left a voicemail. Please don't do this. I didn't know they'd finalized the changes. Your grandfather was confused. Click. No apology, no confession, just deflection. Again, Eric was quieter, probably hiding. probably letting Mom deal with the fallout like he always did. But then the group texts started again. Are you seriously suing your own mother? Wow, you're really that bitter over some cake? Hope the money's worth your soul. I didn't respond. I posted the cease and desist warning from my lawyer in the chat and left the group. Permanently. Then I did something that felt like sealing a door with bricks and fire. I sent an email to every extended family member. I attached copies of the will, both versions. The forensic report on the signature. A screenshot of the final bank transfer Eric made to himself using Grandpa's name as the memo. And I wrote one line. This is what happens when you erase people. Sometimes, they write themselves back in with proof. The silence that followed? Delicious. But the real moment, the climax, came 2 weeks later. Court day. I wore black. Simple. Clean. No makeup, just lip balm and clear eyes. They showed up together. Mom in pearls like she was auditioning for sympathy. Eric in a suit that didn't quite fit, like borrowed confidence. I didn't look at them. Not once. The judge asked if I wanted to make a statement. I stood up. My hands didn't shake. I said, I took care of everyone. I gave when I had nothing to give. I missed birthdays, holidays, rent payments for them, and they repaid me by pretending I didn't exist, until I finally vanished. And suddenly, they noticed. Not because they missed me, but because they missed what I gave them. This isn't revenge. It's reclamation. I sat down. The room was quiet enough to hear paper shuffle. 3 weeks later, the ruling came down. Forgery proven. Fraud confirmed. Eric was ordered to return the funds with penalties. Mom was fined. Public record. And my portion of the inheritance restored. Plus damages. My lawyer sent me the final document with a note. They'll remember this. For the rest of their lives, I printed that too. And I framed it next to Grandpa's last message. They didn't call after that. No texts, no guilt, no pleas. They finally knew the cost of pretending I didn't matter. And I finally knew what it felt like to matter to myself. Not out of spite, but out of survival. Freedom didn't come with fireworks. It came with mornings. Still, slow ones. The kind where you sit with your coffee and realize no one's going to ruin your peace before 9 a.m. No surprise voicemails. No texts that twist your stomach. No unpaid favors disguised as helping family. Just air. Quiet and clean. It had been 6 months since the court ruling. Eric sold his car. Word got around that he had to refinance his house. Mom disappeared from Facebook for a while, probably because Leah shared the court documents in the family group. With context. Apparently the cousins were shocked. Not surprised, but shocked. Aunt Cheryl texted me. Said she always wondered why Mom acted like I didn't exist. I didn't answer. They had years to wonder out loud. They stayed silent. So I returned the favor. Dad tried calling once. Left a voicemail that said, "Your mother's not well. She misses you." I blocked the number, let someone else carry her now. I'd carried enough. I moved. Not far. Just enough to make it harder to stop by. My new place is smaller, brighter. There's a garden. I planted rosemary and thyme because they thrive even when neglected. I thought that was poetic. I found a new therapist. One who specializes in family estrangement. The first time I said the word abuse, I cried. Not because it was wrong, because it was right. Because I'd spent 38 years thinking if I just tried harder, loved louder, gave more, they'd love me back. They didn't, but I did. I started baking again, for myself. Almond cakes mostly. It started as a joke. Eric's allergic after all, but it stuck. I found comfort in folding sugar and flour into something soft. Something that was mine. I made a birthday cake this year. I put my name on it, and I ate the first slice, alone, joyfully. A few weeks ago, I saw them in public, at a grocery store. Mom, Eric, and his kids. I was in the next aisle when I heard her laugh, that same brittle, performative cackle she used at parties. It had sent a bolt through me, but I didn't flinch. I walked past them like they were ghosts. Mom glanced up, and I watched the recognition flicker across her face. She opened her mouth, maybe to say my name, maybe to beg, maybe to blame, but I didn't stop. I just smiled small and quiet. Because she looked right at me and realized she couldn't touch me anymore. They don't know my new address. They don't know my new number. They don't know who I am now, but I do. I'm the woman who stood up and said, "Enough." I'm the daughter who was invisible until she made herself undeniable. I'm the woman who ate her birthday cake first and didn't share a single bite. They said I was heartless, but for once, I put my heart first, and I've never felt more whole. Story 2, he has no place here. At the graduation celebration, my sister informed security that I paid $750 every month and $200 per term. My father made fun of me. "You truly believed that you were welcome." I said nothing at all. I texted her and simply left. The typical way I find out about anything family-related is by accident, and that's how I found out about Donna's graduation. No direct message was sent. No. "Are you going to be present for my mother?" Not even a brief message from my father. A collection of haphazard pictures were thrown like confetti into the group conversation. Gold and navy decorations and outside tables. "You did it, Jess, with a nice dessert." In ornate script. Aunt Martha had already shared photos on Facebook with the typical message, "My amazing niece is headed out to change the world," as was to be anticipated. Northeastern Lakeside University was where Donna had earned her degree. My parents somehow pretended that she was going to find a treatment for cancer, even though it wasn't exactly an Ivy League institution. For over 3 years, I had been paying her $750 rent each month without ever asking for anything in return. In addition, I had been contributing $3,200 every term to her college expenditures. My parents referred to it as doing our part for the family, but they weren't the ones who were living off of microwave noodles and skipping actual meals to make it work. I was that person. On time each month, no thank you notes, no phone calls, nothing but quiet. The money wasn't the point. I genuinely believed it had significance. I thought that perhaps if I continued to give, they would eventually realize how important I was. Up until the age of 9, I was the only child. Everything changed when Donna showed up. She became the favorite of everybody. I didn't appear to be as significant as even the dog. Gee, that trend remained constant. I became the reliable, quiet one. Nobody took attention. After waiting a few days until the group chat was overflowing with graduation photos, I messaged my mother to ask where the celebration was. She responded very immediately, "Hill, Brooke." We were at the same location, the bridal shower for Vanessa. No apology, no explanation. She read the address as if it were a supermarket bill. I made no attempt to find out who would be present. I was aware beforehand. Uncle Wesley made a joke about bringing the cousins' foldable chairs. Yes, in plural. During the conversation, my parents chuckled about Grandpa's need for earplugs. I wasn't invited to the large party they were hosting. I barely make enough money to pay the bills in my small one-bedroom apartment in Elmwood, where I live alone. However, I definitely take more pride in my car than I should, and I own a good one. I put on spotless pants and a white shirt before heading out to Brook Hill. They must have just forgotten that everything will be all right once I got there. I kept telling myself. The automobiles in front of the home told me it was the correct one. Uncle parked his black Yukon in the same reckless manner. Olivia's cousin has a beat-up Camry. Dad's pickup truck, but Grandma and Grandpa are nowhere to be seen. Odd. They never miss an event. The guy at the entry stopped me since they almost live for them. "This celebration is private," one of them said. I said, "I'm her brother." One eyebrow went up as if he didn't believe it. The other left after asking for my name. A few minutes later, he returned with my dad, my mom, and Donna. With her immaculate hair, Donna seemed as though she had just walked off a glittering catwalk gown. She held her phone as if she had more important things to accomplish. She gave me a brief glance before turning to face the soldiers. "He's not welcome here," she added. In fact, I laughed, assuming she was being ironic. Then I noticed my father grinning. "Did you actually show up?" he inquired. "After all of your recent statements?" I said. "I haven't said a word." My mother finally got in. "This was supposed to be a happy day, Louie. We wish to avoid any problems. I'm the one making trouble, I pay her rent, and I pay her tuition." Donna laughed. "I didn't get it from you. The only reason you helped was to have something to keep me accountable. Your focus is constantly on yourself. You're welcome then." Flatly, I replied. She didn't answer. As if the scene had ended, they just turned around and went back inside. My father shrugged. Perhaps you ought to have inquired as to whether you were invited at all. I didn't speak louder. I refrained from arguing. After giving her a quick glance, I responded, "Okay." I then turned and walked away. I took a direct drive home. Never stopped, not even for gasoline. I went to my spot, kicked off my shoes, and just relaxed while gazing up at the ceiling. I then grabbed my phone and started typing. "You will be responsible for paying your own rent starting next month. I wish you luck." It happened this morning. Donna knocked on my home 2 hours later. She was in tears. Not theatrical tears when wearing makeup, just real feeling. "Don't do this, please," she pleaded. "I'm not able to afford it. I can't, Why now? What are you doing?" Since I'm evidently simply a failure, I left her standing in the hallway for 60 seconds without saying anything. And nobody deserves something like me. Around 9 in the morning, she had stopped by. I continued to browse job sites out of habit, sip leftover coffee, and dress in my old loungewear. She was wearing the same glitzy gold outfit from the previous evening when I opened the door. I briefly believed she was come to taunt me once more, but her makeup was sloppy and her eyes were red, as if she hadn't slept. She didn't greet me. "Can we talk?" she said. But I didn't say yes, and I didn't stop her either. She entered the room as like she owned it, and she sat on the couch as though it were her own. Forgot to inquire how I was. Did not give a damn whether I had eaten. She simply began to speak. "I need your assistance to pay my rent." I didn't respond. "You have no idea how difficult this year has been," she said. "Exams are functioning. The clinic has 2 shifts, hardly sleeping." As she attempted to make this something I caused, I leaned against the counter and listened. "Instead of abruptly interrupting me, you might have told me something. I didn't suddenly abandon you. That happened yesterday in public," I said, quite loudly. She gave an eye roll. "Oh, please." "It wasn't serious. Apparently, neither was your spending strategy." She leaned back as if I had given her a face slap. It wasn't fun for me to say. I simply didn't want to suppress it any longer. She surveyed my place as if she had just discovered how little it was. She gazed at the ripped cushion and the little space heater in the corner. I continued looking for hints that my life wasn't really comfortable. "You've been a huge help. Why now? Since you verified it yesterday." "What you mentioned wasn't new," I said. "It was only evidence." Her gaze was fixed on the ground. Her clothing tightened around her hands. The frosting was still adhered to it. "Why weren't Grandma and Grandpa present yesterday?" I inquired. She remained silent for some while. They were not invited. At last, she confessed. "According to Mom, they constantly gripe about Grandpa and the music. He talks too much." "You're referring to the man who got Dad his first vehicle? The guy who covered Mom's surgery costs. It's funny how when someone is no longer beneficial, they become a problem." She remained silent. I looked at the time. 9:43. It buzzed on my phone. Blocked. Caller. At 1001, I let it to ring. Once more, it rang. The same figure. A voicemail followed. I switched on the speaker and pushed play. "Louie? It's me," Grandma said. "Neither were we invited. We were informed of the events. Some terrible things were said by your sister. What about your dad? He is no longer the same person he was. Know that you have our admiration. We'll be done soon. I'll bring coffee and muffins." Donna's expression froze. "They were told not to come," I inquired. She whispered that it wasn't just me. Mom didn't want Grandpa telling stories about Dad. She didn't want him stealing attention. I laughed. "So it's fine for someone to be ignored as long as it's not you." She stood up. "That's not fair. Nothing about this has been fair for a long time." At 11:12, I saw the silver Civic pull into the lawn. Grandma stepped out in her usual floral top, carrying a pink box like it was something precious Grandpa had on his old veteran hat. The one he only wears for special days, or when he wants to get under Dad's skin. Donna didn't stick around. She quietly left. Mumbling something about homework, Grandma didn't ask about her. She handed me the warm coffee, kissed me on the head, and sat down like she'd been planning to visit all along. "You don't owe them a thing anymore," she told me. Grandpa grunted. "She called you worthless." "You're the only one who ever did something real without asking for applause." I smiled for the first time in over 24 hours. They stayed for a couple of hours. We didn't talk about the party. We talked about life, about real stuff. Once they left, I knew what I had to do. Donna wasn't going to be the one to talk to Mom and Dad. I would. After they left, I sat on the bed. The coffee was still warm in my hands, the box of muffins untouched beside me. The silence after they left felt heavier, like that still moment after a door slams in. Your ears are still ringing. Donna hadn't sent a message. I knew she was waiting for me to calm down, maybe hoping Grandma would talk me into letting it go. But something inside me had moved. This time, I wasn't waiting for someone else to make things right. At 12 sharp, I contacted my dad. He picked up, seeming too pleasant, like we hadn't basically clashed the day before. "Hey, Dan, everything all right?" "Grandma and Grandpa stopped by," I said, brought over muffins. There was a brief quiet. "Oh, that's good. They weren't at the party yesterday." "Yeah, well, there wasn't much space. You know how Grandpa gets. I know precisely how he is." Flatly, I replied. He didn't answer, I continued, in order to avoid misunderstanding as well. "Donna is no longer being paid for by me. Not school, not rent, not a single penny." I heard background sounds from the kitchen again. Mom is most likely warming up leftovers from the previous evening. "Louis," he started to speak more softly. "You're not having any difficulties, are you? You don't have any children or house payments. You always have sound financial judgment. I'm expected to make her life better since I didn't ruin mine." "I'm not saying that," he said hastily. "All we want to do is give her an opportunity to turn her life around." "No," I said. "That's what I offered her. You only watched and chuckled." He remained silent. "I stated that I will personally explain everything to Mom. I just thought I'd let you know first." Before he could think of anything further to say, I hung up. I didn't see what was going to happen next, but I also didn't expect anything better from Mom. After 20 minutes, there was a knock on the door. Donna wasn't the one. My cousin Olivia was there. She appeared anxious as she shifted her weight from foot to foot and held a plastic plate in her hands. "Hey," she said, "do you mind if I enter for a little while?" Before I could respond, she sat down and looked around the room as if she had never been in a place this tiny. I wanted to apologize for yesterday's incident. I arched an eyebrow. "I had no idea that they would bar you." I too chuckled when Donna stated what she did. It wasn't because I believed it to be true, though. It was simply so uncomfortable. I was at a loss for what to do. I responded. "You didn't look uncomfortable." Slowly, she nodded. "Yes, I've grown rather adept at acting as though nothing is wrong." Then she made a surprising statement. "Next month, I'm moving out," she added. "I'm over the family drama," I told Aunt Martha. I submitted my application to a Vermont graduate school. That caught me off guard. Olivia was usually in the background, smiling, kind, and never acting inappropriately. I didn't know she was going to move, much less start over in another state. She went on, Donna's taking it badly. "She informed your mother that you were ignoring her. Although your mother is blaming you, she is ignorant." After taking her phone out of her pocket and tapping it a couple of times, she gave it to me. It was a group messaging snapshot. Donna, a name, and a couple of her pals. I failed to realize. Donna. "He did really show up. He would," Donna assured you. "So eager to be involved in everything. Donna, I hope he heard me. He's a failure. He still gets treated like garbage even though he pays my expenses." Olivia kept a careful eye on my face. She claimed not to be aware that I was still in that chat. Last year, she accidentally added me. Most likely, I forgot. I gazed at the display. It wasn't anger. Not even shock was involved. It was only evidence. Unpleasant. Unquestionable evidence. I returned the phone. "I appreciate you showing me. Will you show your mother?" she inquired. After I gave her a single nod, Olivia got to her feet and appeared to feel relieved. She added, "I'm not telling you this to be cruel. People need to know who they're defending, which is why I'm telling you." I led her to the door, shut it after her, and sat for a time in silence. I then entered one sentence into the family chat window. "Allow me to demonstrate what your ideal daughter truly believes about me." I then shared the screen grab. No introduction, no justification. Her precise words, in plain English. They kept praising the same sister, the same person who laughed as I paid her expenses, boasted about exploiting me, and branded me useless. It was not petty. It seemed long overdue. There was silence in the group chat. 10 complete minutes. Nothing. Aunt Martha then abruptly ended the conversation. No. Farewell. Simply gone. Olivia sent me a direct message. Holy. All she said was that. I didn't wait for responses from other people. Didn't give a damn about the half-baked excuses they were entering, deleting. I reached for my keys, climbed into the vehicle, drove in the direction of my parents' home. No conversation, no music. I had been avoiding the route and the thoughts for years. As if anticipating my arrival, my mother answered the door. Her eyes were bright and weary. I didn't say anything as I passed her. Sitting on the couch, my father pretended that he had been heard. There was no sign of Donna. I assumed she was trying to avoid me. Or perhaps they were concealing her. I didn't sit down. I acted without waiting for approval. I just expressed my thoughts. I described how, for the majority of my life, they had made me feel invisible. That I had been pushed aside ever since Donna was born. Only when it was helpful was it noticed. The remainder of the period was ignored. They didn't even bother to ask me to the one day that honored everything, even after I told them that I had paid for her living expenses and her tuition. In any case, they stood there while others made fun of me when I arrived. I informed them that I was done not just with aiding Donna, but also with maintaining the illusion that everything in our home was normal and defending it as the way our family operates. I'll stop lying to myself. I suggested that they take as much time as necessary to understand the true meaning of parenthood. After that, I described my plan of action. I've shared the screenshot on Facebook already. People would understand that I didn't mention any names, I said. They will read about a sister who made fun of him for even showing up, and a brother who paid for everything. Then my father shifted uneasily. I continued chatting as my mother tried to speak. I said, I'm not stopping there. Additionally, I'm publishing the entire narrative on Reddit, right from the start. Every time you acted selfishly and made me feel unwelcome, simply because I was your child. Let's see how many people still think this is true after this is out, if you want to play the happy family game. They didn't respond. They only gazed. It will be read by others. They will discuss it, and they won't point the finger at me. They'll say what I already knew. You never gave me the respect I deserved. I was about to go, but stopped at the door. I responded, maybe you should have given me something better to write about if you're upset that I only posted the horrible parts. After that, I departed, leaving them silent. I opened Reddit and began typing as soon as I got in the car. Not because I was in need of attention. For once I had something honest to say and I wanted the world to hear it, not because I sought sympathy. Finally, they had to know what it was like to be exposed, as I had been for years. The sky had become that serene, gentle gray that makes everything seem to be still by the time the light outside had dimmed. I was done writing. The post went live. I didn't shield anyone, but I also didn't use their names. I detailed how I paid the expenses, how I wasn't even invited, and how I arrived and was greeted like an outsider interrupting a celebration. How it wasn't about a single evening, thus my parents stood there silently. It has to do with decades of being supposed to be content with scraps and constantly coming last. I had no idea how much attention the post would receive. Dozens, hundreds more comments then surfaced. Individuals talked on their personal experiences. They had also been silent for far too long, according to others. Some expressed their desire that they had spoken up sooner to avoid being crushed by the quiet. On my behalf, some were incensed. I should have left years ago, they said. However, one message remained with me. Someone who claimed to know Donna sent it. They discovered they had participated in the same group chat she boasted about after seeing my post. They said that for months, she had been telling her acquaintances that I was essentially her personal ATM, and that she earned it as she was the only member of the family who was worth investing in. I wasn't upset about it. I wasn't even shocked by it. It simply validated everything. I experienced a profound stillness at that very moment, the type that occurs when you let go of something that has been holding you back. I knew I was done at that point. I disabled all of the alerts. I then gave Grandma a call. As if she had been waiting for the phone to ring, she took it up. Everything the first told her was posted. Reddit has it. Everything. The reality. She didn't stop. Good, she said. I informed her that I would not be attending any more family dinners. No more vacation time. No more listening to them laugh behind my back as I sat in quiet. I wasn't simply backing off, I was finished. I told them I wasn't doing this to punish them. I'm doing it in order to finally set myself free. I then asked, what hurt the most? Leaving people who never truly wanted you in the first place shouldn't hurt this much. A moment later, Grandpa was on the line. He answered that was because you wanted them, and it explains the intensity of the pain. We were separated by silence. Grandma then subtly introduced, this hurt doesn't have to stay with you forever. Now put it down. I told them I loved them both and that I would give them another call soon. They were the only two family members I still believed in. Something changed inside of me as I hung up the phone. Not cured. Not resolved. However, it felt as though I had finally released something I had been holding onto for too long. As the sky grew darker, I sat there and gazed out the window. Then an unexpected event occurred. My phone rang once more. Block number. I chose to ignore it. It rang again. The same caller. I answered the third ring out of curiosity. Carl was the one. An old high school friend. Bro, it had been over 5 years since we last spoke. Oh, he said. Are you the Reddit Louie? Who was it who written about their family members? I blinked. Yes. I read your tale, dude. I took my sister to see it. Oh my God, she thought. Is that 8th grade Louie? We didn't know. You had experienced all of that. Hello. Would you want to go out to supper this evening? My reward. Let's catch up. Really? I paused. I got a sense of surprise that I hadn't had all day. Yes, I said. To be honest, I would like that. I sat across from a person who knew me before everything went wrong that night. Neither my parents nor Donna were raised by us. We made jokes about movies. We used to surreptitiously observe Carl's work at Human Resources, and we detested every second of it, plus a variety of other unrelated items. It was the first time in ages. I didn't feel the need to apologize for my existence, so I laughed. I wasn't upset when I arrived home. I had the feeling of some. Story 3. I'm still playing that pointless game. My sister went out, I said, taking out my phone. I just made more money from that pointless game than you will this year. They're pleading now that I've cut them all off. I never imagined that the individuals who would most depress me would be those closest to me. People frequently discuss being ignored by superiors, questioned by professors, or assessed by outsiders. It feels even worse, though, when the people who ought to be helping you the most end up being the ones pulling you down. William is my name. I'm 28 years old, and my brother and sister have treated me like a joke for as long as I can remember. The youngest member of the family is me. The favorite is my 33-year-old brother, Kenneth. He studied law and had outstanding scores, landed a lucrative office job, and got engaged to a member of a wealthy, influential family. Anna, my sister, is 31 years old and a real estate agent. She constantly boasts about how many people she knows, how many sales she has, and how she acts. Having the correct contacts is all that matters in business. And then there's me, the dreamer, the one they despise, the person they believe is squandering his time trying to achieve an unattainable objective. I've wanted to work as a game developer since I was a little child. I enjoy using my ancient PC to create little games, making small independent games and learning from videos. I did it for more than simply enjoyment. For me, it was everything. However, in our household, it didn't matter if your goal didn't pay well. At every family gathering, I was made fun of for spending hours on my laptop, while Anna received her first large check and Kenneth received accolades for winning discussions. The tale was the same. Kenneth would remark, "I'm still unemployed." Anna would advise me to obtain a real estate license as a contingency measure, even though I was doing some freelancing work. Although they weren't cruel, my parents believed that stable employment and a steady salary were the only ways to succeed. My father once told me, "William, you'll have to stop living in a dream." After glancing at me, I realized then that they didn't genuinely think I could succeed. They demonstrated it to more than simply what they claimed. My parents covered all the costs when Kenneth was accepted to law school. When Anna wished to begin her profession in real estate, in the first place, they assisted her. However, when I requested a little amount of money to upgrade my laptop and purchase better software, they informed me that they did not consider that to be a wise use of funds. They were telling me that I wasn't worth their time. I stopped asking after that. In order to save money for the necessary tools, I took night jobs at a local store. To keep getting better, I took any tiny tech jobs I could find. I didn't care that I didn't go out or socialize much. Each time Anna inquired or Kenneth glanced at me, "Are you still playing that dumb game?" It simply motivated me to put forth more effort. 2 years ago, there was a family reunion. With so many relatives I hardly knew, it was one of those large, exhausting gatherings where everyone wanted to know what I was doing with my life. I had just completed my first full-length independent game, which had taken me months to complete. Online, it was beginning to garner some notice, but I remained silent. Rather, I sat in silence while my mother babbled on about Anna's expanding real estate portfolio and Kenneth's work advancement. Kenneth chuckled and remarked, "William, he's still in the basement, thinking he'll be the next Mark Zuckerberg." When someone eventually inquired about me, everybody at the table chuckled. My parents grinned as well. I promised myself something at that very moment. I wouldn't fight, I wouldn't explain myself, and I wouldn't ask for their permission. I would let my creations do the talking. They were unaware that my game was about to blow up in a way I never would have predicted. I returned home that evening after the reunion and gave it my all. Every offensive remark. Every time my brother rolled his eyes and they made fun of me. I kept playing it over and over in my head. I didn't let it break me, though. I kept going with it. I thought I was just getting started. Yet my game was already beginning to gain traction in small online groups. I spent many hours refining it, fixing bugs, modernizing the design, and streamlining everything. I sent free copies for testing to online celebrities and producers of gaming content. While some people never responded, others tried it and found it to be genuinely enjoyable. Then an incredible event occurred. A well-known YouTuber with millions of followers played my game live one evening. His audience embraced it right away. In a matter of hours, I began to get notifications all the time. It started to appear on the channels of more streamers. Players flooded my email with inquiries about upcoming changes. Overnight, my sales skyrocketed. It didn't seem genuine. The figures appeared to be from a dream. A little side project became one of the top-selling games on a well-known gaming website. In only a few weeks, in just 1 month, I began making more money than Kenneth and Anna did in a whole year, but I kept my mouth shut around my family. I remained silent, concentrated on my task, and let them continue to believe that I was squandering my time in the basement. Our next family get-together was coming up a year later, and this time I wasn't dreading it. It had nothing to do with my desire to petty retaliate against them. Knowing exactly what was ahead, I was simply at ease. I purposely arrived later than everyone else so that the group could get settled. It was the same when I eventually entered. Kenneth was boasting about a well-known court case. Anna was posting images of her most recent real estate transactions. My folks appeared pleased with both of them. At last, my mother took notice of me. "William," she began clumsily, as if she had only realized I was there. "How is your small video game doing?" Kenneth smiled smugly. "Are you still playing with that?" Anna took her wine slowly. "Danny, there's nothing wrong with doing something else. If you need a fresh start, real estate is always there." I just sat down quietly, filled a glass for myself, and smiled. I gave them time to enjoy their typical moment. I was aware of what was going to happen. When Samuel, one of the few family members I genuinely liked, took out his phone and asked, "Hey William, is this your game?" It finally happened. With my game at the top of the trending list, he swiveled the screen in the direction of the group, and then there was silence. Anna appeared perplexed. "Hold on, what's happening?" Wide-eyed, Kenneth leaned forward. "You're kidding." Samuel laughed. "Dude, this game is everywhere. I've been playing it all week. Why didn't you say anything?" All heads turned toward me. I lifted my shoulders slightly. "Yeah, I guess it blew up." My mom looked unsure. "Blew up? What does that mean?" I calmly pulled out my phone and opened my income tracker. I turned it just enough for them to see the number. Kenneth's skin turned pale. Anna looked completely shocked. My parents froze in place. They were staring at 6-digit earnings from the game they used to laugh at. I sipped my drink slowly, enjoying the quiet. Kenneth was the first to react. His voice didn't sound confident anymore. "That's fake, right?" he asked with a nervous laugh. "I still locked on the screen. You're messing with us." Anna leaned forward, staring carefully at the numerals like they were about to disappear. "That's really a lot," she added gently. Then she swiftly altered her tone and produced a phony, business-like grin. But that's not steady income, right? I mean, how often do you really make that much? I nearly smiled at how swiftly they attempted to minimize it all. I leaned back, feeling entirely in charge. It's been quite steady, I remarked. That's just from the previous couple months. I also gained from merchandise brand partnerships and those folks that wish to invest. I gave a tiny shrug. It's been a terrific year, Kenneth scoffed, but I watched his jaw clench with stress. Investors. People truly pay money on short-time video games now. I didn't have to respond at all. Still grinning, Samuel took over. Indie games are so popular right now, man. Like Williams, some of the greatest games ever began. According to an article I read this week, businesses are looking for the next great independent success. It's this game. I sensed a total change in the atmosphere of the room. My parents, who had before dismissed my interest as a flimsy pastime, now appeared fully committed. My father coughed uncomfortably. Well, that's really amazing, son. None of this has ever been brought up by you. I smiled half-heartedly, but it was a jagged smile. If I had informed you sooner, would any of you have believed me? That struck a deeper chord than I had anticipated. My mom turned her head away. My dad began to tinker with his watch. But Kenneth wasn't done yet. He was obviously uncomfortable with the fact that the sibling he had laughed at for years was now earning more money than he was. All right, he replied, moving closer. But let's be honest here. Cash is not permanent. You were fortunate. When no one cares, what will happen? I gave a shrug. I have additional games planned. If nothing else, I could easily quit my job early because I've already signed several significant contracts. I grinned. Or perhaps purchase some real estate. When people have more money than they know what to do with, isn't that what they do? Anna tensed. She had devoted a lot of time to flaunting her real estate success, as if it were the most brilliant career choice she had ever had. She seems to have tasted something terrible now. It isn't that easy. She lost her temper. To make informed decisions, you must be aware of housing trends. Yes, I do agree. I interrupted her. I already consulted with a money professional because of this. Believed that doing things correctly was a wise move. I let that to fall. They constantly pretended that I was foolish and ignorant. However, I had now outplanned them both. Anna's jaw stiffened. But before she could say another word, my mother gave me a charming grin. You're familiar with William, she added softly. We were always aware of your skill. We only wanted to confirm that you were acting in the best possible way. I was about to roll my eyes. Correct. I take it that's why you refused my request for assistance? She immediately became silent after that. Kenneth laughed clumsily, attempting to regain control. Consider the day's conclusion. Stability is what counts. You're all right now? Yes. However, is it truly possible to sustain it indefinitely? I selected law for that reason. It is stable. Samuel, who had been silently watching as if it were a television program, suddenly started giggling. You sound envious, man. Kenneth's face flushed. I'm not envious, he yelled. I'm simply using common sense. Anna folded her arm. Yes, envy isn't the issue. We simply do not want you to believe that this success will continue indefinitely. I cocked my head. And why is it important to you at all? Their phony backing began to crumble at that point. Anna moved around in her chair. Because, she added in an extremely kind tone, we're family. Family members also support one another. I could already see where it was going, but I didn't believe it for a single second. Leaning closer, Kenneth's face shifted from phony concern to sly curiosity. He tapped on the table and said, Well, since you're currently doing really well, perhaps you might lend us a hand a little. It was there. Anna jumped right in and activated the phony goodwill. Yes, William, you ought to give it some serious thought. We have always supported you. In fact, I burst out laughing. Been there for me? Are you serious? After hesitating, she quickly recovered. We gave advice after all. We pushed you in the direction of stability. Isn't that encouragement helpful? This was becoming amusing. I crossed my arms and leaned back. So, let me clarify this. Both of you ridiculed me, claimed I'd never be successful, laughed at what I had done. I owe you something now that I've here. Kenneth laughed awkwardly again, but I could feel his frustration. Don't behave that way. We are your siblings. Family members help one another. When I requested a small amount of assistance to finance my endeavor, I raised one eyebrow. You both chuckled at me as well. Kenneth waved his hand as if it made no difference. Back then, that was different. It seemed foolish. But it's only right that you return the favor now that you've produced something tangible. Exactly, Anna said, her voice once again pleasant and syrupy. We are also going through difficult circumstances. The current state of the property market is terrible. Some of my locations simply don't sell. A little boost would go a long way. She caressed my arm tenderly, as if that would make me reconsider. Only a little loan. Naturally, I would pay it back, Kenneth said promptly. Yes, those payments for law school won't just go away. You have no idea how much it costs to maintain my profession. Your financial assistance would be much appreciated. I gazed at him, utterly astounded by Baldy's behavior. I shook my head slowly and continued, just so I get this straight. Both of your occupations are secure and stable. Both of you benefited much from your upbringing. Without any support from any of you, I made success for myself. And you think I should solve your problems now? Kenneth, the smile vanished. Nothing needs to be cleaned up. All we're requesting is some help. Families stay together. I paused and sat between us, observing their faces as they became increasingly uneasy. Then I spoke softly, but with a firm tone. You're correct. Family members ought to support one another. I leaned somewhat closer. So when I needed anything, where were you both? Anna opened her lips to speak, but when I needed money, I didn't stop. When I needed help, you both labeled me a fool. When I eventually started performing well, you made fun of me. You both brushed it off. But now that money is involved, I'm your brother all of a sudden. Kenneth's face became tense. William, please stop being so dumb. I gave a little smile. I'm not exaggerating. I'm telling the truth. Anna snorted. Danny, it's not as if we're asking for a fortune. I shrugged and casually took another sip. I understand, but I still say no. Kenneth's twisted face. Really? In light of what we've experienced? I gave a nod. Yes. At last, Anna's phony, amiable tone broke. You're so egotistical. She lost her temper. Where are your siblings? We have real professions and genuine responsibilities. Unlike you, we don't get to spend our days playing games. I smiled icily at her. That's right. Therefore, the first owe you nothing. The room fell silent. No one said anything. Even our parents, who were obviously eager to be involved, remained quiet. They were aware that this was our fight. With a roar across the floor, Kenneth abruptly sprang out of his chair. Fine, he murmured, obviously in a rage. Do whatever you want. However, we won't be here when this video game thing goes down. I smiled. I don't care. He bounded off. Anna mumbled something beneath her breath and followed shortly after. Feeling lighter than I had in years, I returned my attention to my drink. Their opinions were irrelevant for once. I was already victorious. I grinned as I walked out of the restaurant, still sensing their resentment. The air was chilly at night. As I walked to the car, I saw that the street lights were flickering. I was just done. I wasn't upset. I've had enough of their greed. Until they needed anything, I stopped allowing people to speak down to me. I mentally reenacted the exchange as I drove home. Their nerve still surprises me. Now that I had what they wanted, Kenneth and Anna genuinely believed they could alter the narrative. It nearly made me feel sorry for them. Nearly as soon as I entered my flat, there was silence. The only noise was the background buzzing of my gaming machine. After kicking off my shoes, I flopped down on the couch and unlocked my phone, intending to browse through it until I slept off. Then I noticed it. A fresh alert from a cousin's page. I tapped it out of curiosity, and when I read my name, which Anna had posted on Facebook, my stomach fell. It's sad when people lose sight of their origins. Some people behave superior to others and allow their success get to them. Smidge. Those who are greedy always fall the hardest. Remember, she was being brave, and it wasn't over yet. Kenneth had written, "Wild how money can make someone forget their family," beneath it. We were always there for him, and we received this gratitude. Unreal responses, some ambiguous, some obviously biased, were already beginning to accumulate. That is really disappointing. Individuals truly change when money is involved. Family should come first at all times. I inhaled deeply and gazed at the screen of my phone. When I refused to give in, this was their fallback option. They attempted to make me the villain. Normal. Even though I wasn't shocked, I still wouldn't overlook it. As I consider my next move, I tapped the back of my phone with my fingers. I could be indifferent, allow them to spread rumors, and allow them to distort the facts any way they saw fit. Alternatively, I might warn them of the consequences of trying to play games with someone who already knows the rules. I let out a slow breath, eyes glued on the screen I was holding. I was tempted to respond right away as my hands lingered over the letters, but I knew better. I wasn't going to do something impulsively. I would ensure that Kenneth and Anna would deeply regret their decision to distort the facts and make me their adversary. I started by taking screenshots. Kenneth's phony worry, Anna's resentful post, and all the comments from distant relatives who hardly knew me but felt entitled to say something were all spared by me. They weren't being held as proof. This was a memory I wanted to preserve. The precise moment it became evident that they just saw me as a resource to be exploited financially, not as a person. I went over the responses once more. Over and over again, the same rehashed sentences. Family must always be united. People become chilly when they have money. He turned on us after we supported him. It was absurd. When I couldn't afford groceries, where were they? I was putting all of my efforts into creating my dream while I was confined to a small apartment and forced to eat cheap noodles every night. Then where was the support? Now, I was asking for a little less than what they were asking for. They were where? They mentally revised the tale. They now portrayed themselves as devoted, helpful siblings, and I'm the egotistical one that refuses to share. Let them maintain their delusion. I had no intention of arguing. I had no intention of correcting their falsehoods. I was leaving for good, not in a furious manner, but just finished. The final line was this one: no more wishing. Don't wait for things to change. No longer taking chances. It wasn't a tirade. I didn't request comprehension. I decided to completely cut myself out of their tale. I started by opening my social media applications. Kenneth put a stop to it. Anna has left. After that, I went through the names of the family members who had commented on the post. All of a sudden, people I hadn't spoken to in years were acting as though I owed them something. I disposed of them all. If they were saying anything about me, I wouldn't have to read it if they did it behind my back. I then launched the conversation for the family group. I went over the most recent messages. My name was mentioned, both subtly and not so subtly, along with guilt trips. Why William would disregard us in this way is beyond me. We were all so close once. His success made him conceited. Some individuals lose sight of their origins. It was amusing. To be honest, no one ever visited or phoned. I didn't explain, suddenly acting as though I should apologize to them. I refrained from venting. I wrote a brief response. All of you are concerned about what I ought to provide you, but none of you gave a damn when I was broke. Just because I performed well at last doesn't mean you can go back in time. Go ahead and make me the villain if you want to. However, I'm finished. Do not message me once again. I then ended the conversation. For a minute, I sat still, staring at my phone, hoping to sense something. Shame, sadness, anything. However, nothing was present. Rather, I experienced tranquility. For years, they had caused me to mistrust myself. I felt tiny and uncertain after hearing their statements, as if I were pursuing a meaningless goal. I could see plainly now, they never helped me. Only when I had nothing did they put up with me. They altered the narrative as soon as I was successful. Furthermore, I refused to allow them to drag me back into it. No more. The reaction was immediate. My gadget was buzzing repeatedly. Unknown callers kept trying. Definitely. Anna and Kenneth are frantic to get through. More distant cousins began to message me after I banned their numbers. I was shamed by some. Others displayed bewilderment. William, please get in touch and make this right. Nothing is more important than family ties. What made you quit the group chat in that manner? That was really rude. You're going overboard. Simply acknowledge your error and make the necessary corrections. Express regret. For what purpose? For refusing to give them cash. For not acting as though their account of what happened was accurate. I never responded to anyone. Kenneth then posted another status update, even more dramatic this time. When individuals allow their money to alter who they are, it hurts. He believes he is superior than his relative, even though we have always supported him. But that's okay. Selfish people always learn a lesson from life. I burst out laughing. Karma, whether he felt better after that. All right, give him time to wait. There was no turning back. As the days went by, there were fewer calls. There were less texts. The indignation eventually faded and was replaced by quiet. For the first time in what seemed like an eternity, it was finally over. I had the feeling that I could breathe. No more phony smiles. Dealing with sarcastic remarks is over. I no longer feel the need to prove myself to those who have never supported me. I returned my whole attention to my task, the things that made me happy and at ease. And you know what? Life became better. I took a trip. I came across sincere individuals who offered me unconditional support. Instead of judgment and games, I created a life full of respect and compassion, as well as my sister and brother. Kenneth was still drowning in law school when I last heard from him. Long Anna was having trouble preventing her real estate transactions from failing. The same professions they made fun of me for not pursuing. They never apologized, and I never made contact, since they believed they had done nothing wrong. And that's all right. In any case, I didn't require their apologies. Please share your thoughts in the comments section below.